Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Asad Yaqub and I am from Lahore, Pakistan, and I teach Ielts in Lahore and I teach Ielts online as well. Once again, I welcome you all to my academic Ielts reading video. This is your demand actually. This video is being made on your demand. So get ready to improve your academic Ielts reading skills and get ready to go to your destination country to study abroad, right? In this video, I'm going to teach you how to deal with the summary completion in section 2. And by the way, I'm solving this test from Cambridge Ielts Academic book number 14 and this is test number 2, section 2. So I'm going to teach you how to deal with summary completion, how to read the questions, and this is the summary which you have to complete with one word only. So summary completion, one word only, how to deal with it, how to read the summary, how to identify the clue words, and then how to scan those clue words in the passage. All that I'm going to teach you. Let's go to the handout straight away, and there with pencil I'm going to solve this test, and while solving the test I'm going to give you the tips and techniques as well. Let's take a start. Alright, now let's go on. We've got this test, choose one word only, and there is no one word and or a number, so one word only. Write your answers and all that. Passage, this is summary completion by the way. Complete the summary below. So we understand summary completion. Let me tell you, in summary completion, questions and answers, they are in the same order. So ventilation in 19th century hospital wards. Now we are quite familiar with this passage and we are going to learn about ventilation in the 19th century hospital wards. Okay, Professor Alan Short, we read about him already if you watched my previous video. Examined the work of John Shaw Billings. John Shaw Billings is the name of hospital, right? I read this text before in the last video. Professor Alan Short examined the work of John Shaw Billings, who influenced, Professor Alan Short, who influenced the architectural something of hospitals, right? So Professor Alan Short influenced, instead of who you can put Short. His short name is Short. Okay, wow, what a funny thing. His short name is Short. Short influenced the architectural something of hospitals to ensure they had good ventilation. Now we need to find Short in context with John Shaw Billings, and it should be about 19th century hospital wards. Alright, Short is mentioned here, Short is mentioned here, right? We got to see 19th century, Short is mentioned here, but there is no mention of 19th century, and Short is mentioned here with 19th century. So I'm going to look for this answer over here. Short's book highlights the developing and sophisticated art and science of ventilating building through the 19th and earlier 20th centuries, including the design of ingeniously ventilated hospitals. Of particular interest were those built to the designs of John Shaw Billings. Now say of particular ventilated hospitals, of particular interest were those built to the design of John Shaw Billings, including the first John Hopkins Hospital in the US city of Baltimore. Now what's the question? The question is, Professor Alan Short examined the work of John Shaw Billings, who influenced, Professor Alan Short examined the work of John Shaw Billings, who influenced the architectural dash of hospitals to ensure they had good ventilation. Architectural something which they've mentioned, so we got to find that. Alright, it's here, 19th century, earlier century, including the design, they say design of ingeniously ventilated hospitals. Yes, Actually, they say the 19th and earlier 20th centuries, including what? Including the design of ingeniously ventilated hospitals of particular interest were those built to the designs of John Shaw Billing. Now see, including the first and all that. So what I understand when they say short book highlights a developing and sophisticated art, all right, and science of ventilating. Art and science of ventilating. Now art and science, that means Professor Ellen Short examined the work of John Shaw Billing, who influenced the architectural art and science of hospitals to ensure they had good ventilation. So art and science of ventilating building through the 19th and earlier 20th century, including the design of. Now they are focusing the word design. Including means he focused the design actually. All right. They say who influenced the architectural design of hospitals to ensure they had good ventilation, and then they say the design of ingeniously ventilated hospitals. That's right. Including the design of ingeniously ventilated hospitals, and there they say design of hospitals to ensure they had good ventilation. To ensure they had good ventilation, for this they have used the word actually design of ingeniously. Ingeniously, I don't know, I'm confused about that, okay. Ingeniously ventilated hospitals, and for that they have used hospitals to ensure they had good ventilation. So the answer is design. Is it singular or plural? It's singular, design. All right. Okay. All right. IELTS reading is always like this. And by the way, they've mentioned the word design here as well. Of particular interest were those built to the design of John Shaw Billing, but after design, including the first law. But they don't mention. But this one, they say design of ingeniously ventilated hospitals. So design of, and then design of hospitals to ensure they had good ventilation means ingeniously ventilated hospitals. All right, guys, let's go on. He calculated. He means again same Ellen Short. The summary continues. He calculated that. Now what is it that he calculated? He calculated that dash in the air coming. Now there is some substance, something that dash in the air coming from patients. For example, he calculated that oxygen in the air coming from patients suffering from a disease. Now these two questions are linked because both questions are in one sentence. So we need to read on. He calculated that dash in the air coming from patients suffering from means disease, would not have harmed other patients. He calculated that something which is coming in the air from patients suffering from a disease would not have harmed other patients. Now it makes sense, huh? All right, let's go on. All right, let's go ahead. There he says, because you know it's summary completion, so you need to read on to find the next answer. He says, we spent 3 years digitally modeling Billing's final design. All right. Says Short, we put pathogens in the air streams. Okay. Modeled for someone with tuberculosis. Modeled for someone and suffering from. And tuberculosis is the disease. Wow, wow. Let's see. We spent 3 years digitally modeling Billing's final design. Says Short, we put, what did they put? We put pathogens in the air stream. Now pathogens is written here, microorganism that can cause disease. The footnote is there. So we put pathogens in the air stream, modeled for someone with tuberculosis coughing in the wards, and we found the ventilation system in the room would have kept other patients safe. All right. It says IELTS reading, huh? Now he says he calculated that dash. Now suffering from, I got to know from here, that is tuberculosis, or you can write TB for that as well. So let's see, it is, this one is going to be the spelling must be correct, tuberculosis, or you can write TB, but it's one word only. So try to avoid TB because TB is abbreviation, it's not the word. It's better to write tuberculosis. Now let's see if it, sorry, I wrote it in the wrong place. Suffering from, that's bad. Okay, see, this happens in reading with you. Tuberculosis. So he calculated that dash in the air coming from patients suffering from. Now what in the air coming from patients suffering from? Let's see. We spent 3 years really modeling this. We put pathogens in the air stream modeled for someone with tuberculosis coughing in the wards. Alright, coughing in the wards. So they found what? We put pathogens in the air stream, right, modeled for someone with tuberculosis coughing in the ward. So if someone is coughing in the ward, that person is releasing pathogens in the air stream. So the answer here is pathogen. He calculated that, medical word, patho, P-A-T-H-O, where is that? P-A-T-H-O-G-E-N-S, pathogens. Alright, now let's see. He calculated that pathogens in the air coming from patient, and for coming from patient they are using the word pathogens in the air stream, for in the air, modeled for someone with tuberculosis coughing in the ward, right? And we found the ventilating and all that. Oh boy. So tuberculosis is for 21 and pathogens is for 20. Let's go on. Now the next sentence. He also found, it means you need to continue. You need to go on. There is something else that he found. He also found that the air in dash in hospitals, it is the part of the hospital. Air in dash in hospitals could change as often as in the modern operating theater. Alright, could change as often as in the modern. Okay, now let's see. Again, he also found that the air in dash in hospital, air in a place in hospital could change as often as in modern operating. Alright guys, we did this, so let's go on and we are going to find the next answers there because it is summary completion. Now he says we discovered that the 19th century hospital wards, does it ring a bell, could generate up to 24 air changes an hour. We discovered that 19th century hospital wards could generate up to 24 air changes an hour. That's similar to the performance of a modern day. Now what is the question? The question is, he also found, and for he also found they say we discovered and found is same thing. We discovered and he also found that the air, now see, for air they are using the word, we discovered that the 19th century hospital wards could generate up to 24 air changes an hour, and they are saying 19th century hospital wards. So what is that? They say here he also found that the air in dash in hospital, now see, they are so clever, in wards, W-A-R-D-S, in wards in hospital, and over there they have used the word hospital wards. See here, hospital wards, and there they say in wards in hospital could generate, and that is similar to, and if you read on then they say in hospitals could change as often as in a modern operating theater. And where do they say that? 24 air channels an hour, that is similar to the performance of a modern day blah blah blah. Oh gosh, Now if anybody is gonna say this was the easy test, I'll kill you, huh? Just joking. So let's go on. Operating, now we read from here. He suggests, now he gives a suggestion, right? He suggests that energy use could be reduced by locating more patients in dash areas. Now this means it's the type of areas. If you locate the patients there, energy use could be reduced. That's what you need to find out. Okay, I read this again. He suggests, he means Professor Alan Short. He suggests that energy use could be reduced by locating more patients in. It means the answer is the type of area or actually location, dash areas. Now this is what we need to find out. Let's go on. Controlled, and we believe you could build wards and single rooms are not appropriate for all patients. Okay. Single rooms are not appropriate for all patients. Communal wards appropriate for certain patients. Okay. He says single rooms are not appropriate. Okay. If single rooms are not appropriate, then communal wards are appropriate for certain patients. Older people with dementia, for example, would work just as well in today's hospital at a fraction of the energy cost. Wow, that's amazing. See that? Fraction of an energy cost, and for that they say, he suggests that the energy use could be reduced by locating more patients. More patients where? Dash areas. Again he says, single rooms are not appropriate for all patients. Communal wards appropriate for certain patients. Now certain patients, and there they are using the word more patients. Certain patients and more patients, and then you can see older people, dementia and all that would work just as well in today's hospitals at a fraction of the energy cost. So single rooms, and the other is communal wards. Now let's see. For wards, they have written the word areas. Now you don't need to write the word wards. You will just write the word communal. Understand? Because for wards, they have already written areas. So the answer is communal. I wrote the right spelling, C-O-M-M-U-N-A-L. Alright guys. Ielts reading is killing, huh? It is so cruel. Next, now see, this is another summary. So you need to read on, and this is the next part. One part is over. Now this is the next part. A major reason for improving ventilation in 19th century, major reason for improving ventilation in 19th century hospitals was the demand from the dash. Demand from the dash. It can be type of people or type of patients, for protecting against bad air, known as, alright, now protecting against bad air. So that protection against bad air is known as. A major reason for improving ventilation in 19th century hospital was the demand. Again, in one sentence, up to the full stop, there are two questions. So if there are two questions in one sentence, you have to read them both. Alright, so they say known as and major reason for improving ventilation and all that. Now let's see major reason for ventilation in the hospital. We are done with this. Professor Short contends the mindset of skill set behind these designs have been completely lost, lamenting the disappearance of houses, other buildings where up to half of the volume the building was given over to ensuring got air. Much of the ingenuity present in the 19th century hospitals. Now let's be alert. Yeah, there they say a major reason for improving ventilation in 19th century hospital was the demand from the dash. So much of the ingenuity present in 19th century hospital and building design was driven by driven by. Now you have to be active. Driven by and major reason, they are the same. Okay, driven by major reason for improving hospital was the demand from. Who demanded that? Demand from. So driven by, so building design was driven by a panicked public. Wow. Now if you write a panicked public, your answer will be considered wrong because it's one word only. If you write only panicked, it is an adjective. Remember, in one word only, mostly your answers are nouns, right? Now they have written panicked. Panicked is adjective. It's not a noun. Public is a noun. So if we put public, a major reason for improving ventilation in 19th century hospital was the demand from the public. Now let's go on. We got to see what is next. For protection against bad air, known as. Now what is the other name for protection against bad air? This is what we need to find. Let's read on. So they say here the main drive, no, this is here, yeah. Public clamoring for building that could protect against what was thought to be. See that? Could protect against what was thought to be the lethal threat of miasmas. Lethal threat of miasmas. Now see, lethal threat of what? Miasmas. Now miasmas is that thing. What is the question? For protection against bad air. Now see that, what do they say here? They say here building that could protect against, and this is mentioned here. Demand from the public for protection against, and that could protect against bad air known as, and then they say protect against what was thought to be lethal threat of miasmas and toxic air. Alright, toxic air that spread diseases. They have written this at the end. Toxic air. Now for toxic air, they have used the word bad. Bad and toxic. ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਐਸੀ ਦੀ ਤੈਸਨੈਸ ਕਰ ਦਿਆਂਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ. Alright, this is Punjabi. I said just you wait, Ielts people. For protection against bad air known as, and they say here actually could protect against what was thought to be the lethal threat of miasmas, and that is toxic air that spreads diseases. What is toxic air that spread diseases? Is miasmas. Alright, so the answer is miasmas. I'm sure my spelling is correct. Yeah, miasmas. Okay guys, let's go on. We got the last question. These were blamed for the spread of disease for hundreds of years, including epidemics of. Now epidemic, it means it is going to be another disease, that is epidemic disease. Okay, all right. These were blamed for the spread of, these means the reasons which are mentioned there, were blamed for the spread of disease for hundreds of years. All right, including epidemics of dash in London and Paris in the middle of 19th century. Now let's go on and we can find this as well. Okay, miasmas were feared as the principal agents of disease and epidemics for centuries, for 100 years. Wow, read carefully, you'll find it. And were used to explain the spread of infection from the Middle Ages right through to the cholera outbreak in London and Paris. Cholera outbreak in London and Paris. Now let me tell you how. Listen, it says here these reasons were blamed for the spread of disease. 100 of years, for 100 of years. Spread of disease for 100 of years. For this they say centuries, right? So miasmas were feared. For miasmas they are using these. Try to understand their trickeries. For that they are using these. Over here these were blamed. So over there say miasmas were feared were blamed and were feared. That's the same thing as the principal agent, and there he says blamed for the spread of disease for hundreds of years, as the principal agent of disease and epidemics for centuries. For centuries mean for 100 years, and were used to explain the spread of infection from the Middle Ages right through to the cholera outbreak in London and Paris. Now London and Paris, outbreak means that spread of that disease. So here they say yes, for outbreak they are using the word epidemics. Epidemics and outbreak, they are the same thing. Epidemics of dash in London and Paris. So the answer is cholera. Let me check the spelling again. C-H-O outbreak, C-H-O-L-E-R-A. Yes, that's right. C-H, guys, this is my O. C-H-O-L-E-R-A. Oh my God, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਐਸੀ ਦੀ ਤੈਸੀ. Alright, I'm going to actually make IELTS reading naked for you, and then you'll be able to see everything. We'll do X-ray of IELTS reading together. Alright guys, all the best. Welcome back. See that? Now you are confident about summary completion, one word only. And guys, let me tell you, these are the current type of questions which are being given to the candidates in actual IELTS test. So now you are ready for your academic IELTS test, right? So I mean, whenever I solve the test, I give you the tips. It's your job to keep those tips in mind, to retain those tips, and then apply them when you solve the test. If you like this video, hit the like button and do subscribe my channel. I run another channel, Asad Yaqub Vlogs. You can subscribe to that as well. And I have a Facebook page, Asad Yaqub IELTS. You must like my Facebook page as well. I also teach IELTS online. If you want to join my online IELTS classes, my WhatsApp number is given. You can contact me for that. Asad Yaqub wishes you all the best. Take care. Allah Hafiz.